goodness. I think I should have given him the low ground. It was all uphill walking. I'm an old man. Well, so the time has come for us to allow our piglets out of the weaning barn. We've got them sequestered in a small area there. They've been being weaned and, of course, being trained to electric fence. Well, now is the time to let them over on the new pasture and separate them from the mamas for the rest of their life cycle. So let me show you what we're trying to do here. So while Liam goes up and takes the top line, 17 gauge line that we put up on this fence line where we're going to move it, I think it'd be easier for me to show you the map instead of trying to point it all out, because right now, this time of year, everything looks like a bunch of trees. So this section behind me, this entire area down to our property line, which goes around the white trailer and down most of our little small meadow, is what we call the East Pasture. That's the newest pasture that we made last year, had our last group of pigs on that. Well, nobody's been on it at all since then, since we processed in midsummer. So we're going to let the piglets over here to really check this out. And this is a pretty good sized pasture. So instead of just moving them over, as we make infrastructure improvements and get better ideas as they go along, we're going to make a subtle change here. So if you look at the map of our property, this is the wide version, shows all of our property. But we're going to focus in on this one particular area here on the front eastern corner of the property. As you can see, the way that this pasture is laid out right now, with the east pasture and what I consider the main pasture, what incorporates the entire farrowing barn at this time, is separated by this one vertical line that goes right up the ridge of this little watershed. And that's what Liam's working on right now. So the plan is to move that line just over to where it will dissect the farrowing barn. So the farrowing barn is split into half, one half on one side, one half on the other. So if we bring that electric fence line right up to the farrowing barn and divide it as such, then the piglets will still be able to hang out in the farrowing barn on their half of the farrowing barn where they have been, but then have access to all this new pasture, water, and all those type of things. And of course, the sows will stay on the existing pasture they are. Since there's just 3 of them, we can handle their pressure on that. That'll be where they hang out all winter. Hey, whoa, Nelly. Sorry. Playing in the mud. So we acquired some additional pool poles. If you want to see what that's all about, how we use those for fence, I'll link to a video up here. Okay, so standing here at the corner of the farrowing barn, you see we've got our new hot lead. Basically, that was the same wire we're using as a transmission line that was in the trees to provide electricity for the weaning paddock. But we just dropped it down, set some posts, utilizing our pool posts there. And you can see my Energizer on the side of the building. So now that fence line is all tied together. It's hot. Now left, you can see this excessive pigtail, pardon the pun there, of wire, because the plan is to, I didn't want to cut it too short. The plan is to eventually, I want to set a post right here in this area with a swinging gate, but I got to get that back on level. It's very unlevel right now. And you can tie it in, probably have a pole set with a crossbar to brace it really nice so the gate can swing this way or that way. So it'd be like almost like a switch gate here, ching, ching, to let pigs in or out one way or the other. So we got the front leg done. Liam has gone to fetch feed for these devils because they won't leave me alone. They keep searching my pockets looking for food. So we're going to work on the back here and feed them. Also need to feed the piglets. As we wait for Liam to get to feed for the sows, I wanted to take a quick second to mention an Olight FLASH Sale is coming up in time for Christmas. And they're introducing the Warrior X, which this is the one I've been waiting for. This is a very nice light, very nice tactical light. This one's 1100 lumens, but has a very concentrated beam. So very specific, very good spotlight type thing, long distance. So anxious to try that guy out and enjoy him. And then I like the fact that Olight is introducing some more of this camping style equipment. So here's the Obulb, which is, you can't see it light up because it's daylight, but it's just a little tiny LED bulb that has a base, a push button on the bottom, has a couple settings, even goes red if you want the red light or if you want a flashing red light. Magnetic chargeable base. It's actually magnetic in the fact that you can stick it to anything metal. So I like it for camping. This would be a good fit for our camp. So, in our vermicomposting toilet, our outhouse, can stick it up on the metal roof and use it for a light if we need to. In our outdoor shower, by the tent, those type of things. And again, charges just like all the other lights. But I'm going to, they have a big flash sale. If you're watching this video the day it came out, which is Sunday, then the big flash sale starts tonight and goes through it goes for a couple days. I'll post all the details below in the video description. But check them out. Really been happy with them. This is probably my, I think Liam counted the other day, I think this is like my 25th Olight, and I like every single one of them I've had so far. You guys getting a little hungry? Is that what it is? So Liam has already taken this wire, the old fence line that went down to the workshop. Here's where we are. That's the farrowing barn. So the old fence line that went down to the workshop. He's pulled it all back up to, I don't know if you can see this. That's a dead white oak here, but the little white oak behind it, that's where the last insulator is that goes on up and ties into our road. I don't know. Can you see that little orange handle right there? So that's where that would tie in. It was a straight line. So we're going to come down and just do a slight angle, come down around this dead white oak, come across our watershed, straight up to me, and he's already got it, all the wire all laying here, all the slack. And we're just going to have that terminate on this T-post here in the back of the weaning paddock. So this will be where the sows are. This side will be where the new piglets are. Okay, so Liam and I finished up this back line. So you can see the T-posts coming down, go down into our watershed, which is always fun to cross. Back up and ties in right where that white turnbuckle is, not turnbuckle, corner, and then I have a tensioner there. So we tightened that up really nice. So and then this existing, I went ahead and left the weaning paddock pretty much intact. Now granted, there's not a corridor to go all the way around now. I just turned that panel and closed it off. So the only way you get an animal in there is through here, or you'd have to move that panel out. But I thought I'd leave that just in case I have to quarantine somebody or a pig falls out of the sky. You know how it goes. The only thing about this setup that isn't the most ideal, but I knew it going in, is that my electric does not create a loop. So where Liam's walking, that's the termination point. That electric stops there, and of course on the front of the building, the electric stops there. Now, granted, all the way around, the entire 2 pastures is one big loop that ties in. So these are legs that come off the loop and down the loop. All right, the only thing we need to do is we're going to, since nobody's been on this pasture since midsummer, we're just going to run the perimeter real quick and make sure there isn't any down spots, any spots that have been compromised by deer. So Liam's taking the high road. He's going to inspect the fence there. I'm going to take the low road, and we're going to meet here on the middle bench, make sure we don't have any major obstructions, and then we can plug it in. I think you wrote a song about taking the high road and the low road. I'll refrain from singing it, however. So in this pasture, the piglets will have access to this spring of water, and it doesn't look like much, but this thing constantly runs, especially this time of year. Like where I'm standing is all gushy. But you can see, we've had quite a few nights of 29, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Even actually we had 21 morning. But you can see the green grass still here, because this comes straight out of the ground, of course, at about 55, 57 degrees, I would assume. And keeps this ground somewhat warm, so the grass hasn't been choked out yet. So piglets will appreciate that. They'll get in there and probably wallow that even more. It spills over into another little catch right here, and then just trickles down. So you can see these little tufts of green grass. And this is why we have to do this in the woods, because it seems like no matter where a limb falls, it manages to fall across the fence. I think I should have given him the low ground. That was all uphill walking. I'm an old man. All right, buddy? Huh? You good?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I can tighten that up. Yeah, come on down. So we have all the fence line inspected. Height's good. We think it's pretty good. Checked our voltage. So we're 5.1 down here by the Energizer, and we're 4.99 back here on the back leg, which should be, it's energized only because of the wire going all the way around the pasture. So that's good. I'd like it to be a little hotter. I probably, on this point over here, I probably have some issue that we haven't checked out yet, but 5 kilovolts will do what it needs to. So in the grand scheme of things, the pigs have been here now 3 weeks. They've been trained to electric. And do I think this is going to keep the pigs from ever leaving this area? Most likely not. But the beauty of this is their pasture has their feeding area. This is why I'll continue to feed them for a while. Always want this to be home base. And even if they happen to get out when it's food time, they're going to come tearing in here to be able to access it. So now it's time to loose the hounds, or loose the pigs. Oh, everybody's got their bellies full. They're not really anxious to leave, are they? Piled up. Look, didn't even eat all your food. All right, let's see if you'll do some exploring this late in the evening. Loose the swine. Let's put our cinder block back in, Todd. Y'all coming? No, not if you're in the way. There we go. They're pausing at that electric fence. They see it. They know that's what it is. So the next day, and I came up to feed everybody about midday, and all 8 of the piglets were over here on this pasture with the mamas. And so again, that's, as I mentioned, that's something I'm not terribly worried about, but I was able to get them back in with food, just lured them back over. And what I was able to do, of course, is in this situation, just kind of follow where they were this morning as far as the disturbance in the woods. And I discovered that right where our little watershed is, it comes down here, and I had to traverse that with the electric fence. You can see right there where that leaning step-in post is. That's where they were going under, either side there. So lowered the insulators, made it even closer to the ground. It was funny trying to get them back across. They were aware of it, so they just accidentally stepped underneath it as they came foraging across that line. But up there, I was able just to take that step-in post out, lift it up, put a little food on the ground. They came under, got them in. So they're figuring it out. So there's really 2 reasons I want to keep them separate from the sows, and both of those pertain to feed. So the feed ratio that I'm giving the sows is a daily ration. I don't want them to put on weight because obviously we want them to breed again soon. So I don't want them getting all big and chunky. And we do want our piglets to get a good ration, to get a good dose so they can get big and chunky. So if we just let them cross back and forth, the sows would be eating more of a ration and the piglets could be eating more of the sow's feed. Also, the difference between 16% and 12%. I have 12% finisher that I'm giving my sows, and the piglets are getting 16%. So higher protein. So I don't want to waste that higher protein content on my sows. Well, we'll see how this goes. We'll keep doing updates from time to time as they grow up, and we'll show how they manage this pasture this winter. We've got one more pasture that we may move them over to later this winter. We'll just see how it goes on this pasture. All right, take care, everybody.